This beautiful wrap crop top with a puffy sleeve, that's what we'll be doing today. I copied this picture to make the video you're seeing beside it. Welcome back to my channel. If it's your first time here, you're welcome. So these are the fabrics I'll be using. I have this Ankara print about 2 years, and I have the lining black about 2 years also. This is cotton lining with other instrument I'll be using. So now we can see the fabric marking on it is not really that visible, so I'm going to be marking first on the lining. Then after I'm done drafting and cutting out, I'll cut it out on the main fabric using the lining one I've already cut out. So I have the lining already cut out on the table. I've checked my length. I saw that this length is going to be enough for me, then the wideness is going to be enough, then I cut it out. So the first thing we are going to be starting with is marking out of the starting point. So I'll proceed now to mark out the starting point, and that's exactly that place. That's where our starting point is going to be. So after that, I marked out the main length. I want the main length of this crop top to be 20. So I'm going to be marking it out 20. That's what I'm doing right now, down. Then after I'm done doing that, I'll proceed back to the starting point. I'll come down to about 8 inches, which is going to be my chest line. And I marked it also, I rolled it. Then I came down to 10 inches, which is going to be my bust point. I marked it also. I came down to the half length, which is 16 inches. I marked it also. Please don't forget to like this video, and if you have any question, leave it down in the comment box below. You can as well leave a lovely comment if you love this tutorial. And if you are yet to subscribe to this channel, please subscribe. So I'll proceed to label those marks I have already. I'll proceed to label it. So it's the chest line, which is the CL. You can see the bust points. I'm labeling it B, and the half length H. Then the main length, we are just going to leave it like that. After that, I'm going to be marking out the neck and the shoulder parts. So for the neck, I marked 3.5. Then for the shoulder, I divided what I measure for shoulder by 2 and slanting it down with 1 inch from the side. You can see. Then I'm going to be connecting it to the neck area. Then on that down part that I slanted it down, I'll bring it down exactly the way you're seeing, down to the chest line, which is the CL. At this point, I'm going to be dividing the circumference of our bust measurement into 4. Remember, this fabric is unfold, and this is just one part, the front part. We still have the back part, and that's why I'm dividing it by 4. I marked what I have there, and I added 1.5 allowance. Then on the half length, I divided the circumference of my waist by 4, and I marked it and I added 1.5. That's the second point I have there. The same thing I did for the down part. After I was done doing that, I connected these points together exactly the way you're seeing me doing it. Then to get our armhole curve, on that angle, I came up about 1 inch upward, and I slanted it to connect the 2 points together, as you can see. Then I divided that armhole part. I divided by 2. At the center, I came in deeply 0.5, and this effect is going to only be for the front part. For the back part, we'll cut the normal armhole. I'm going to be showing us exactly this. So I'll proceed to cut out my fabric. At this point now, I've not yet cut out the neck. So I'll take this fabric, the lining out to the main fabric, and I'll cut out. When I was cutting this out, I totally forgot that this is crop top, that I don't need zip allowance. So I added some, about 1 to 1.5 for the center, which is zip allowance, which is not necessary because later on I cut it out and I had to join the back parts together. Then for the main length now, because this is lining, I'm going to be adding up to the main length. I added like 1.5 inches to the main length because when I want to fold it, I'll fold it up on the lining. I'll show us exactly what I'm saying when it's time. Now on the lining, remember I said when I cut the main length, I use 20 because I want the length to be 20. But because I already added to the main fabric, which is going to make the length to be more longer, so I had to remove 1 inch from the lining, so making the lining to be 19 inches. So that folding allowance I added on the main fabric is going to make the 20 inches to be equal. Okay, note this, I cut this exact lining on another piece of lining which I'll be using for the back part. Then I brought this back to the table to mark out the neck depth. The neck depth I used 3.5. Remember the wideness, I used 3.5. So this neck I'm cutting out is just to guide where to place my wrap. So from the upper part now, I came down to 7 inches. Then on the down part, I came up about 3.5 inches. Then that 7 inches, I'm going to be slanting it together to meet up the neck wideness I marked initially. Have you seen now why I actually marked that neck? Then I'm going to be slanting it straight, exactly the way you're seeing it now, to meet up to the down points I marked. So you can see now, this is me just using my free hand to connect everything together to make it slantly. Coming down by 7 inches, this is perfect for me. It won't expose my front parts. But if you want it to show a bit cleavage, maybe you want to wear anything inside, you can just come down to about 8 inches, even 8.5 inches. So this is me just showing us how it's going to be, because I'm going to be cutting out that mark. So I'll proceed now to cut out everything so you can see how it is. And after I'm done doing this now, I'll take this other part to go and cut out on the main Ankara fabric. And this is the front part. Remember, we already cut out the back. And I already duplicated the lining before I cut out this wrap area. Okay, so after that, you can see exactly what I'm doing now, using the same lining to cut out. And remember, when we're cutting the back part, I added to the length. That's exactly what I'm doing here, adding up to the length, exactly the way I did for the back part. Please don't forget to like the video, and if you have any question at all, leave it in the comment box. I'll be there to answer us. And after I was done doing everything, I just cut it out. You can see from the side, I left some about 0.5 inches to join the wrap area. So I carried the main fabric, which is the Ankara print. I place it, making the right side face the right side. Please don't make this mistake. If you don't make the right side face the right side, you will end up cutting the same side, which is going to be useless. So ensure it's closed, making the right side face the right side. And I cut exactly what I have there, and you can see what we have now on the table. So this is the lining. I also went ahead to duplicate the lining. We have it also. So these are everything I have. After that, I'm going to be cutting out the sleeve. This sleeve is very beautiful and it's very easy to cut. So you can see how I'm folding my fabric. I just folded my fabric in two, but I cut it out. I folded another fabric in two so that I can cut both sleeves together. To get this sleeve, we're going to use the same method we normally use to cut sleeve flare. So that point is going to be my starting point. You can see where my tape is. One is going to be my starting point, and from that part I'm going to be taking it round. And from there, the main length of my sleeve is 12 inches. So I added like 4-5 inches to the main length because it has elastic band. You can see from that point, I'm just taking it round. From the point, I'll take it round on the fabric and mark it out. After I'm done marking it out, I'll just mark everything, connect all the points together exactly the way you're seeing it. This is just a basic sleeve, a basic flare cut. So I'm going to be cutting it out like this. Remember the allowance I added. You can as well add up to 6 inches. Depends on how you want the sleeve to fall. And remember, there's going to be an elastic band there. So now coming back to the edge, I'll go in deeply that place I place my hand, 3 inches. Then I'll come down to 8 inches because that's the measurement for our armhole. Then I'll connect it up together exactly the way you're seeing it. So now you can see the connection, you can see everything. Then on the angle I have there, that angle, you can see I'm going to be going up inward like that 1 inch, and I will slant it. This is almost like the armhole kind of curve, and from there I'm going to cut out, and that part I cut out is the part that is going to enter the armhole. So back to sewing. This is the back part. We are going to be starting with the back side. Remember when I said I cut a zipper allowance? So this is what I'm cutting out after I've already joined it together. Then to sew now, but before sewing, I'm going to be cutting out the neck for the back part. The same wideness I use for the front, which is 3.5, I'm using it for the back, but for the depth, I'm going to be using 2.5. The good thing about this neck, you can choose to make it any shape you want. You want it downward more than this, you can make the depth to be like 4 inches or 3 inches. So you can interchangeably wear both fronts or the back. So this is exactly how I'm going to be sewing it. I'll first connect the neck. So this is the neck. I've connected the neck and I've sub-stitched. You can see I stop-stitch on the lining. I really hope you understand what I mean by stop-stitch on the lining. I will show us in a bit. Then the down part, I also, after in the same way, I will connect the lining downward. Remember, the length of the lining and the main fabric is not equal, so just connect it together. And after I was done connecting it together, this is exactly what we have. I'll go ahead now and connect the sides together, and this is me just trimming out some excesses I have inside. Then after that, I'll turn it inside out to the right side. Remember when we were folding all this together, the wrong side, we were folding it on the wrong side. Like this, the right side was facing the right side, and when I turned it out, that's when I have this. Then for the front part, I'm going to be starting from the wrap parts. I'll first connect the wrap, then I'll sub-stitch. Sub-stitching means opening up the lining, and that inward sewing you have, you turn it to the lining side and stitch it together on the lining side. That is sub-stitching. And after I was done doing that, I joined the down part and the side, and this is what I have, and I'm going to be turning it inside out. Remember, the length of the lining and the main fabric is not equal, and that's why we are having something like this. Then for this other side is left sewn. Before I turn it out, I'm going to be making a rope, which is going to be an extension to this part that I'm yet to stitch up together. So I'm going to be using that fabric you are seeing to make rope, and this is the rope. The length of the rope depends on how lengthy you want your rope to be, but for the wideness is 3 inches. So for the length, I think I have up to 50 inches for this length, so it depends on what you want. But for the wideness, I said already, is 3 inches. You can choose to make yours 3.5. Remember, so this, I'm going to turn it inside out from there, and I've ironed it. So this is my lining, this is my rope. Then the mouth that I didn't stitch, I'll pass it inward using through the armhole part, exactly the way you're seeing it. Back, I'll bring it out from that side that I haven't stitched together. I'll bring it out from that point, then I'll now go ahead and stitch it together. So after I was done stitching together, this is exactly what I have. So from the armhole again, I will turn everything out inside out. You can see everything is coming out on the right side, and all my sewing is inside apart from the armhole where I turned everything out. So you can see now, this is exactly what I'm going to be doing to the other side, and I've done the same to the other side. This is what I have. You can see the rope extension. I've ironed my pieces together. You can see this, the other side also, and basically this is just for the front parts. So you can see what we have for the front parts. You can see the wrap is not that explosive. I already told us how to get, if you want it to be more wide than this, I already told us how to get that when we're cutting out the wrap part. Then this is the back, and I've gone ahead to also iron it. So at this point, before I connect the back to the front, I'm going to be taking my measurements now. So I divided the circumference of my bust into two. Remember, the fabric now is not on fold. This is the back part. I divided it into two. I didn't add any allowance. At this point, I just want the main body measurement. Then the waist, I divided the circumference also by two without any allowance, and I'm going to be connecting it together exactly the way you're seeing it. This is very simple dress to make, and it's very, very beautiful. If you make it well, very nice. So now, before connecting the back to the front, I'm going to be connecting the shoulder together, and I will not just pick up the shoulder and connect it, making the stitching part to be exposed or to be showing. I'm going to be sewing inner sewing, but after that, I will now connect the main body together. Then, to get the shoulder sewn up together and making the hidden, like the stitching part to be hidden, this is what I'm going to do. This is the back part. I open up the back, separate the lining and the main fabric. Then the front part, I put the shoulder together, place it on the main ankara, then use the lining to turn it. You can just as well pause this. You can as well wash this over again to get it. Then after that, I will take it to stitching machine and run stitch on that point together. I did exactly the same for the other side. You can see the stitching, everything is inside hidden. So after that, I'm going to turn the fabric now to the wrong side, making the right side of both front and back face each other, exactly the way I'm doing it. And I will take it to the stitching machine, following the line I already have on the back to stitch it together. So this is what I have after I was done stitching the front and the back together. So we have the wrapped up already. See how beautiful it came out. And this is the rope. You can decide to tie it anyhow you want, to the front, to the back, to the side. So after that, we are going to proceed to the sleeve, and this is the sleeve that we initially cut out. If you look truly through the sleeve, you're going to see that there are some kind of smoky holding happening on the sleeve. So this is exactly what they did. Depends on how tight you want the smoky effect to be. This is me. I just divided this part to like 3. So this part, I'm going to be holding it exactly the way I'm doing. Just watch what I'm doing. I hold it up like this, and take needle and thread to just tie it up, just to secure it. I'm repeating this thing for us to see clearly. I'm going to do this again. I hold it up together, then fold it. Then at the edge there, I'm going to be using thread and needle to hold it up, and that's what I'm going to be doing to all the parts that I marked. I'll repeat this to both front, to both sleeve. And for the paper I have there, it's very easy to remove. Take your hot iron and place there. Place on the wrong side. I don't have the paper. Then it's going to be easily to remove. Then for the tip, depends on how you normally fix your elastic. But for me, I do fix the elastic as I'm sewing it. So I'm going to be passing it through the fabric like that. I'll stitch them out together. Then I'll continue stitching it while the elastic band is inside. I'll be very careful while doing this so that I will not stitch on the elastic band. Because if I do that, it will be very hard to pull out. I will do that all around until I complete the down part, fixing the elastic band inward. I'll do this to both sleeve. And after I was done, this is exactly what I have after I've drawn the elastic. And then we have the round sleeve, about 12 inches. I divided by 2 and I have 6 inches. So I'm going to be taking my measurement on that part that has the elastic band, which is the round sleeve measurement I'm be taking there. So round sleeve divided by 2, which I have 6. So I'm going to be taking the 6. Then I'll close up the other mouth. After that, I'll join it together. Then after I was done with the sleeve, the down part. I'll bring the sleeve to the main fabric, the main dress we have now, and I'll stitch it. So while stitching it together to the main body, you can decide to just add some pleating on the shoulder part to have a bit puff on the shoulder point, and this totally depends on the wideness of the armhole of the sleeve, so that one part will not be shortened. I did the same for both sleeves, and guys, that's all for this video. You can see the final look of this beautiful crop top 2-in-1. You can see the front and the back also be worn the same way. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and see you in my next video. Bye.